So, we are here again in our energetics, yogic numerology exploration of 2022, the arcline year, and I am so excited. Not because it's July, it is one of the hottest months of the year in Austin, but because this month we are exploring the Auric Field, and this is an area that has always intrigued me. Ever since I was a child, I was raised with an awareness of auric fields. Um, and I think it's probably when people are first starting to get into energetic work, it's sort of, the most exciting and to make a joke out there um, sort of topic that when people really start waking up to energy, it's one of the first things that they kind of get to interact with, and so it's a fun topic. So Siri
Yeah,
Bahadur, thank you so much. So appreciate you as always. Thank you for joining me, and let's dig in.
indeed, indeed. So yeah, we have July. We have seven of the Auric Field platform of elevation as it relates to becoming sensitive and extending prayer or blessing. So yeah, just what's been unfolding um, recently is magnetically auric field is tied into uh, pushing for protection, pushing negative energy out, but also extending blessing and allow, I mean, it just work, push and pull works so much, whether it's projection and protection or being open to receiving or giving blessings. It's that light field that is magnetically aligned. And so to that effect, I was looking at and contemplating on meditating on this space that the divine, as it sifts down into the realm where we are oriented right now, you have the magnetic alignment of electricity and magnetism, or activity buffered by purpose. And so it's the same thing that Guru Dan and I have been working on. How do you deal authentically in a from the heart in the realm of the mind, right? So now most everything we see is mentally oriented. Social media, it's like, well, how do you respond to that? What do you think about this Supreme Court decision, that Supreme Court decision, this committee, that committee, this economic situation, this political or even relationship situation? It's like we are in that reactionary mode of the mind, because that's what the mind does. Automatic, contrasting, just its propensity is to inflict judgment on everything. And so uh, if we can incorporate the heart into that and let the heart direct the mind, then the way we mentally manipulate the electromagnetic field of light particles magnetically aligned, we say, okay, we're always going to be engaged in activity because this is the realm of karma and dharma. But we have to mitigate it. We have to soften it with purpose. And if we soften it with divine purpose, well, then everything shifts over to the center, where you can see a situation and you can just engage in our divine attributes and say, okay, this is love. This is um, this circumstance in front of me. I could either send it reeling off into chaos, or I can inject the attitude of love into it. And so, as we're just looking to uh, this month look at our sensitivity and allow a little more conscious interaction by uh, reducing the effects of stressors. It's like everything. You go on Facebook,
Mm.
and there's an assortment of stressors to deal with if we take it personally, right? The same, anything, Instagram, Twitter. Oh my God, I never subscribed to Twitter, and I hope I never do, because it is just a minefield, of react to this, react to that. Oh, and tell them what you think.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no, so many times I've gone to put a response onto Facebook, and by the time I get to the end, I just delete it all and just go, never mind. I don't want that out there,
It's like,
and
writing a letter to someone just to get it out of your body, then burning it, never sending
oh yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's like I just needed
yeah,
to process this, but like I don't want to
yeah,
I don't want to contribute this to the reality. That was like a personal exercise. I think, yeah, we would have a much
yeah.
healthier culture if people would just stop and go back and reread before they hit that submit button.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, sometimes I would reread just for grammatical purposes.
Oh,
I
always.
don't know how many times I get emails, and it's like grammatically incorrect, misspelled, and they thought they were typing in a word, but it was close. Putting, instead of a your, it's a you. Instead of a you, it's a your. And you go, well, do you not read your communications? And so, um,
This is
in
this is like
business, it's embarrassing.
it's no, 100%, 100%. And there is a, it's so funny because you're bringing up like the quintessential internet argument. You, your, and your. This is live
Yeah.
live memes, people. It's true though, and I think it's there's that piece of judgment that we have that the mind comes in and we're like, oh, that's embarrassing, and like that's whatever, whatever, and um, the other piece of it is we we're so reactive. We're in some degree we're like coddled and encouraged to be reactive. Like we've gotten into this like, oh, my feelings. And it's like we needed to kind of go through, like, we needed to process that feelings do matter and that perceived trauma is just exactly equivalent to trauma. Like, you can't tell someone what their trauma is. If they think they're traumatized, then that's going to affect their whole reality. Therefore, they're traumatized.
Yes.
It's not for us to judge, but at the same time, like, this is the exegesis and the dialectic that philosophically should be part of our culture. And what we have instead is this Hegelian dialectic where we're forced into reacting to specific stimuli all the time. And so we have all of these presets and we're just responding to these presets. And we don't realize that we're having also a preset response. And I think, and I don't know how we get there and I don't know how we encourage other people to take that time, but that little bit of reflection of just, oh, maybe I should just reread this and just make sure that like I'm representing myself and my purpose. I really liked what you said about purpose. I wrote it down. Like make sure that
Hmm.
this is aligned with my real purpose and that I'm not just being an NPC and just responding from my limbic brain system like, bleh, I'm just going to shit all over this now because I can, because the internet.
Yeah.
And I'm entitled
Yeah.
I'm entitled to because the internet.
It's my right, freedom of speech. Well, it's funny. I have this friend that I I was kidding around that he's a galactic being or intergalactic interactor, but it's not. It's not a, it's real. This guy is for sure bona fide. And one time we were talking, and he was saying how, he's throughout the day, he's looking what he's doing, looking at what he's doing, and said, "Is this what I want to be doing? Does this serve me? Does this, and does it serve my mission?" And and there's so much stuff that we do that, well, yeah, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But if you're doing it, it serves your mission to recognize what you're doing.
Mm.
It's like nothing wrong with feelings. You just have to pay attention to them and be honest to yourself about what they are and what their purpose is. Just to defend feelings without looking at them is kind of like, well, okay, you sure you can if you want to, but it depends what your purpose is. If your purpose is to be a feeler, be a feeler. And be the mirror that other people can look at and go, oh my God, do I do that? And so yeah, and I'm noticing a lot. Driving is one of my biggest teachers, that and my dog. In that the karma is usually like that, and I go, yeah, that guy I just took exception to is me. So
Yeah, the real life mirroring lately has been quite rude, very rude. I can almost not get through a thought about something that I'm interacting with and processing without going, "Oh crap, that's me." Like I'm literally the one doing that and then casting judgment. I don't even know what this person's intentions are really. I'm just assuming that they're doing the thing that I'm doing. And then I'm like, I just throw up my hands. I just can't, I'm not even gonna go work on myself some more.
yeah, maybe I should not have gone out in public today. Well, that's the thing, and I was talking to someone also this week about, the whole concept of sadhana. It's like, hey, it's just sometime during the day setting your purpose, right?
Mhm.
What's my deal? And you can do it at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. You can do it at 10 o'clock in the morning. You can do it at 6 o'clock at night, by which time, damage is already done. And so if you can get it,
Before bed, right?
huh?
Before bed, right? You can, NLP yourself before you go to sleep.
Well, yeah, and hopefully you wake up and all that stuff is ready to go. But but what yogis have determined is that if I get it before I do anything, if I just recognize my purpose, set it, and I set it at a time before everyone else is up, and all of those minds, the mindset of all the beings inside them, and before the group psyche comes into play, well, then you have a better chance of having your purpose penetrate through what you attract in the
Mhm.
day. And I wish, I don't know, I guess over the years that has been said, or at least implied, with sadhana, because sadhana, was such a big thing. And 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 it's taken me a long time to realize exactly what the mechanics behind it are, and why it is. But that's what we have to do. We have to just have everything that we believe, or that we're entertaining, mean something.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, I should do this, but why? And until I know why, probably I'm not going to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm.
Right? Then it's just like a wish, or some kind of perceived obligation that I'm not 100% behind, which is part of, once we get to um, October, and the radiant body when it's all or nothing. That it'll be fun going through the rest of the year,
I'm excited.
body by body.
I'm so excited. Yeah. I said the Auric body is my favorite because of all of the new age. I think it's fun for people when we start talking about that. But really the radiant body is like where it's at. And I
Yeah.
have a funny story about that. So maybe we'll talk about that then. But I wanted to say, so yeah, so in those early hours, at an electromagnetic interpretation of that, most people are reclined, right? And so their electromagnetic field, and if they're sleeping correctly, which is um, aligned, so you're supposed to sleep with your head to the east, right?
East and west.
East
Yeah,
and
I think so.
west, isn't that it? Uh,
Yeah, cut. I forget.
regardless, right? So like
Yeah.
everyone's in this reclining, theoretically, most people
Yeah.
are, and so their electromagnetic field is interacting with the earth as the yogi, as we sit up, we bring ourselves up like we do when we're teaching. Like our heart field is supposed to be connected to like the third eye, essentially. That's why we sit on the elevated platform.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when we sit up in sadhana, standing or sitting above that, not only are we not engaging with the mental activity of people being up and getting ready for work and blah, 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 and all that stuff, but we're also, not engaging with that electromagnetic activity of people moving around and bouncing against each other and, all these interpretations and all the multitudinous worlds that are being created by this multitudinous interactions and all the 10,000 things. And so there is something to be said, I think, for that specific time window. And I've noticed, and it hasn't happened recently, but there was a period of time in my life where I would be jolted out of bed by Yogi G, like literally like grab my ankles, like it's 4:30, it's 5, or what are you gonna do? And he has such this gruff, like, MFer kind of energy sometimes, and it's I'm awake. I'm awake, teacher, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so I noticed there are periods of time. I don't specifically try to get up during those times right now, but it's one of those things that's sort of always in the back of my mind. And there are times I naturally wake during those hours. And it's like, well, since you're up, you might as well send up a prayer, you might as well connect, you might as well da da da, and then you can go right back to bed. I think the people, um, whatever you do, and this is one of the things they say about Kali Yuga also. Anytime you invoke the name during Kali Yuga, you're going to have success because very few people are really dedicated to prayer during this time. Sad to say, but you know, those of us who do want and are reaching and do want to connect, like that connection will be easy for us because that assistance is just waiting for us to ask to connect and
Mm-hmm.
to help
Mm-hmm.
and to invite into our fields. And we become, and it's not an ego thing. It's not, to puff anybody up or anything like that. It's just, you know, we have allies. You always have allies, and I think part of um, what's going on in our society right now is that we have such a sense of isolation and a sense of like, I have to protect myself. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to close all the doors. I'm going to be defensive. I'm going to react. I got to protect my space. And, I don't really know what's going on. So I'm going to buckle down even harder and like be even more resolute, and it's, um, the auric field doesn't work that way, and neither do we. It's
Mm-hmm.
not possible because we are in constant communication with everything. It's like at a cellular, at a atomic level, nothing is ever touching, right? Because the electromagnetic field bounces against the electromagnetic field of other material and repels it. And what we're feeling is that repulsion, that feeling of the electromagnetic field. This is science. This is what's so
Hmm.
exciting to me about it. People don't realize it's like we're never actually touching anything ever. And the auric field kind of works the same way, right? Like we're always feeling and sensing things beyond like what our skin is able to interpret. And when we start to recognize the sensitivity that's necessary for that and, let down that armoring that we have, that's when we really can start to pick up on things and developing that sixth sense and really leaning into that, that might be the thing that is ultimately going to help us heal a lot of this chaos and trauma and karma and stuff that we're trying to drop right now because I think a lot of us are really tired of carrying all this stuff around, Like there's a whole bunch of old stuff that I think, it could just be let go at this point. And I think people don't, I would say to anyone who's listening, we're closer, we're much closer than it feels like. It feels like the trash can fire right now, but actually, it's one of those always darkest before the dawn moments. And yes, we have to endure. Yes, we have to feel through all of it, and that sucks. But the dawn is always coming, and it's like put your faith in that, believe in that, set your intention for that whenever you do, get up every morning or whenever you do wake up, first thing when you wake up, even if it's not at 4 a.m. when you first wake up, decide, decide that that's the way it's going to be. And I think we lose so much of our agency in this like constant push and pull of, it's like it's like a toxic push and pull, like because we don't understand how it really works.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I get this communication that usually ends, uh, you're never alone. We're with you, and I think that is the message of the auric and radiant fields, and that we just have a stewardship over a certain portion of the macro field, which we just say, okay, it's my micro field. Me as consciousness have the ability to respond to this portion of the fabric of creation. And the clinging to the space that we are isolated and we are separate requires energy, like you were talking about, requires energy to hold that stuff in place and to keep others away and to block the transmission of energy and the whole dynamic that opens up once we allow ourselves to become sensitive, once we allow um, and give permission for impulses and information and energy to come in. Um, you know, the, the mechanics or the release of the mechanics of the separation uh, have to be recognized before they can be let go. So then we recognize them, we let them go, and then keep expanding a little more. So yeah, asking, giving permission for the response to come, realizing not alone. It's like when you say, like when I would read that, you're never alone. Sometimes it's just like this tear wants to come to my eyes, that, oh my God, yeah, my brothers and sisters and, the cosmos are all out there, all my buddies, all my galactic relatives or, ancestors
Yeah,
that are on the other side of this imaginary wall
yeah.
at the borders of life. We're all there. It's a matter of, yeah, I need, if I had a pendant, I'd say, yeah, you're never alone. Because the alone part is painful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is very painful. And I think, there's a um there's a dynamic tension of truth of it, and part of that truth is that we come into this incarnation in part to experience that individualization, right? And that individualization, feeling it through the material body and feeling what we perceive as something that's very like clear and finite and has these rigid boundaries, and which actually, if you look into the science of it, is like totally false. Um, um, but there's some reason, right? There's some reason why we incarnate with this forgetfulness and this feeling of separation. And I think for each person, it's you have to connect to your own deep purpose of what that is, and what the meaning of that is. And we haven't really been allowed to do that. That type of processing doesn't have a quantifiable timeline for anyone. We are all going through some stage of that, and you can't judge somebody's process of that. You can't put it on a 9 to 5 clock. You can't build corporate products around it. You can't, so our society is not really geared to allow people to have this processing time. And I think, because of the pandemic and the lockdown and everything that's been happening over the last 3 years, or really much longer, but we'll just talk about that segment. I think that it has really shook people, and some people were close, and so it shook them just right over to like where they needed to. And we're always all where we need to be. But some
Mhm.
people, it shook them down into their foundation, and so you're what we're seeing is people that have, a lot of these sort of rifts and gaps. And one of the things in Kundalini that we always talk about is about aligning the field, right? Because as you go through life in the auric field, you're picking up on and responding to all these things. And so I think of it as like weather patterns of the earth, right? It's like this sort of swirling, sometimes it goes this way, sometimes it goes that way, and it's sort of dancing and responding to the electromagnetic energy that's going on, around it that it's engaging with. And in Kundalini, we specifically make a point to say, okay, if that's the case, then I'm going to consciously align those particles and be intentional about where that's going and what it's doing for me and how it's interacting. And I'm going to clean that system on a regular basis so that I can operate in my best self. And that is, it's an element of health and wellness that I think over the next 2, 3, 10, I don't know when exactly it's going to click, but like this is something that people need to realize. Like we are not, it's not even an argument over what's material versus spiritual, whatever, whatever, whatever. Like these things are not separable. And science is
Mhm.
getting closer and closer, and that's one of the things too that we're sort of, before the pandemic, there was all this sort of new science coming out about they were researching the electromagnetic field, and they were seeing evidence of things, and it's sort of we don't really see that much of that sort of positive science going on right now. But that doesn't mean that we're not evolving still in that way. It's just right now our evolution looks like let's unpack all of the darkest of our stuff and bring it all to the light and look at it and fight over it and quibble and argue and get our feelings hurt and have to deal with the hurt. Like this is an important part of all of that. And I think it's good to recognize that like when you're processing stuff that you haven't dealt with in a really long time, when you're doing shadow work, when you're doing inner child work, when you're really digging deeply and trying to resolve things, it is not pretty. There's no real timeline. You might think you got it and you're going to come back to it in X number of days, weeks, months. or a year and go, oh crap,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and to have a little grace, with ourselves and also to show grace with others. So for me, going to the grocery store is my thing. Driving is always, I really enjoy driving. Like, yes, it's triggering at times, but it's just, it is what it is. But for me, it's like the grocery store is like oh, I can't stand when someone, like, they're in your energetic field, like they're in your auric field, right? They're close enough to touch you and they just don't even see you. They just, like, you're not even there. They don't say excuse me. They don't, or my favorite is when you're looking at something and you're trying to decide and someone's waiting, and they just hover and they don't say anything. They don't say excuse me. They don't go ahead and get what they need. They don't look. They don't look. It's like we treat other people as if they're inanimate objects that are obstacles to our agenda. And I went
Mm-hmm.
into the grocery store on Monday night after my martial arts class, and usually I'm in like a little bit of like warrior mode, and I'm kind of like, like have this sort of energy. And that particular trip, I just was feeling really differently, and I was looking around. Every single person that I looked at and made eye contact with in the store was smiling, and someone stopped to let me walk in front of them, like a gym rat guy. Like, he stopped and let me walk in front, and that's something that's like a big trigger for me. I almost never experience. I'm always, I feel like I'm always the one that's like, please go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
with no
Mm-hmm.
thanks, with no acknowledgement, whatever. And it was, I literally like was in the store before I walked out. I kind of looked around and I was like, has it been me this whole time? Like, is it my having the expectation that when I go to the grocery store that people are going to be jerks and people are going to not acknowledge, and I'm the one that's making the concessions and I'm the one that's holding space for everyone all the time, and like, is that all been in my head all this time? Like, everyone in the store right now is super cool and nice, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so I,
Yeah.
I think when it's so that that mirroring aspect of our experience, it's like really what you're feeling, what you're putting out, what you're projecting into the reality is what you will see. And the more we are intentional about that and be the change and really work on cleaning out that our own stuff, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I have to say.
Great. I agree.
That was that was my rant. But it's, and I also wanted to talk about the heart, and I think people who don't know, a lot of people in our world will know, but people who are watching this who don't know, the auric field is related to the heart. All right. So in the body we have the chakra system, and the heart has its own energetic resonance and fields. So it's like a toric field, right? So a torus is a concept in physics where you have an outer circle that feeds into, it's like a donut, right? That feeds in. And so the heart and the auric field have this relationship. And when we're sitting up correctly and strongly and proudly and embodied into our heart space and feeling open, safe, strong, and all of those things and supported, then our sternum lifts and our lungs sit up and can open, and our rib cage stacks, and all of this opens. And then our projection goes out into the auric field, and then we're able to hold that space intentionally. And that's one of the things
Mm-hmm.
that Yogi Ji talked about, was about you can actually strengthen and extend your auric field with intentionality, with working on your heart space by wearing white, and all of these things. Like there's ways that you can interact with and become that strong projector and hold that space better for yourself and then for others.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that, that that's the work that's coming out right now from what you're working on with Guru Don and what he's doing for his teacher training, and that, it all seems to come back to the heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you consider that the the heart space is a the uh, carries basically carries the soul in its qualities. The more we relate from heart to soul, soul to heart, and then our our heart or our soul to what circumstance that's in, or the person that's in front of us, then we can feel that connection. And with the reduction of resistance of, like, my space to the other, whoever it is, becomes less other and more in alignment, then, like you said, less resistance, more light, more power in that uh, electromagnetic structure. So yeah, we'll be busy. We'll be busy for a while, but it's all good. If we weren't doing this, we'd be doing something else.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, we have to do the work that's in front of us, right? What else are we gonna do?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a giant mountain of unending work for anyone who, is into this. So, yes. And also important to take rest, and not to push and
yes.
push and push and push, because one thing the heart really doesn't do well with is the constant pushing. It's like hit workouts, like you push for a while, you push, you push, push, you increase your capacity, and then you have to rest, and recover and take good care. So I'm excited. I think that, in spite of looking at the world and seeing, chaos and confusion and seeing people suffering, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I do also see people coming more to the light, and, unfortunately, sometimes it's that pain that we're experiencing that drives us to something different, to the light of change and growth and the evolution that's needed. And what's needed now in our world is a soul evolution. We need the soul of humanity to be in place now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not in a religious ideology way, not from any dogmatic standpoint, but from a true heart-centered, personal, divine connected, whatever that means for people. And I think, this technology and, the openness that's come, you know, um, when when the information about Yogi Bhajan's activities was became public, our community also experienced a great rift, and a lot of disillusionment and pain. And again, it's not something that you wish to know or would wish on anyone, and you certainly don't want to know this about your teacher and someone that you revered. At the same time, it's that type of disillusionment that opens us to the reality that, these things, even Kundalini Yoga, it's a system. A system is a ladder. It's designed to help you climb to a different level. And once you get to that level, it's a different system at that level. And that's where we are right now. So I'm so grateful. I couldn't be more grateful to be on this journey with you. Um, and everyone that's watching this, if you're watching this, consider it a call it's time, whatever it is that you're experiencing, that you're struggling with, that you're questioning, lean into that and join us for classes. Siri has two classes on Monday in town, and then in Austin at Flow Yoga at Shuinya Yoga Collective. And then on Tuesdays, you're going to start teaching out in Bastrop in the mornings.
Hmm.
That's at Homespun Wisdom at 9:30 on Tuesday mornings. What day does that start again?
Uh, this week,
Do-
I think, I'm pretty sure it's this week. That's what I got on my calendar. You can homestud homespunwisdomtext.com, and we'll put some. Well, I'll go ahead and guarantee a start time. We'll put it on the website, and
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. So
but it
people,
should be this week, and yeah, just look. We're doing all kinds of stuff.
yes, yes. So check out the website, get on the email list if you're not there yet. Stay in contact, stay in touch, and lean into the community. That
Hmm.
allows your heart to resonate at the vibration it wants to resonate at, and divest from things that don't make your heart feel stronger, healthier, happier, holier, because we all need support in these times and we all need to invest in the things that are productive and positive and growth oriented. Um, Certain things are meant to destruct, and those things are self-destructing as we speak, and
Hmm.
you don't really have to engage with it. You don't, because it's
Yeah,
the natural
yeah.
order.
Let the laws of the cosmos take care of all the dissonant energy. Um, and I think as we focus on staying connected and serving one another and loving one another, the other stuff is no match. It's no match for light and love and music.
Amen, amen. All right, well, thank you so much, Siri. As always, such a pleasure to
Hmm.
talk to you. And people who are watching, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss as we walk through. Every month we put out this podcast, and we'll be doing it for the entire year. So we're right just past the halfway point. So you can go back and watch the previous ones. At some point, we'll have the classes and things uploaded on the website, so you can go back and review that in a series. And all kinds of wonderful things are becoming. So just stay tuned, stay engaged, stay committed to
Hmm.
yourself. We love you all. Siri, I love you.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you to everyone who's watching.